what happens when meme stock mania meets magic internet money. You get GameStop. Yes, that GameStop. Officially going full GigaChad and adding Bitcoin to the Treasury reserves. But this ain't just some random press release. This is the financial equivalent of taking a Red Bull, snorting some orange pills, and rage quitting the fiat system. We're going to break down exactly what this means, why Ryan Cohen is following in Saylor's footsteps, and how this move could signal the beginning of the final short squeeze of the entire financial system.
Get ready, so get set, so hang on, so buckle up, so sit tight, so strap yourself in.
Send it!
The stock price skyrocketed like 20% in after hours, went up to like $32 and change from like 25 before at the height, and then it retraced a bit. And we saw universal like encouragement from the Bitcoin community that this was a smart thing to do. And I think especially for the GameStop, meme stalkers, this could be extremely value accretive because, as you mentioned, the stock is shorted like to an absurd amount. And, the current short interest is like 30%, but historically it was about 100%. And we believe that not all those shorts have closed. They've just been hiding the short interest in other ways. And every time that there's been like a mini squeeze, or you could say like a momentum push in the market, it always ends up in this like parabolic move. So when DFV came back in May of 2024, and then again in June, we saw the price skyrocket from like $10 a share to $80 a share within like a week and a half.
Let's go! On March 25th, GameStop confirmed it. Bitcoin is now a Treasury reserve asset. The board voted unanimously. They didn't just open the door, they kicked it down. No limits were set. They can buy Bitcoin with cash, debt, equity, whatever they want. GameStop's sitting on $4.75 billion in dry powder. That's 40% of their entire market cap. Ryan Cohen had meetings with Saylor. He got a letter from Strive Asset Management urging Bitcoin adoption. He replied with letter received like a damn Bond villain. Then he dropped this move like a Call of Duty airstrike. GameStop now joins MicroStrategy and Tesla in the corporate orange pilling Hall of Fame. Let's break this down. GameStop was left for dead, a blockbuster for gamers, a meme stock that became a revolution. And now it's a monetary superpower in disguise. This is the ultimate rebrand. From selling used Call of Duty games to storing digital gold on their balance sheet. Some are already calling for a name change to B-Stop. Installing Bitcoin ATMs at all 4,000 plus stores, well, that would bring non-KYC Bitcoin access to your local strip mall. And while all this is going down, GameStop just posted massive earnings. Net income doubled year over year. SG&A expenses down 21%. $175 million added in cash. $4.78 billion in reserves ready to deploy. You know who had that kind of war chest before they bought Bitcoin? Nobody! Not even Saylor and MicroStrategy had a fraction of that. Now imagine if GameStop deploys even half of it. We're looking at like 50,000 Bitcoin. They would easily become the #2 corporate holder on Earth, and that's above Coinbase.
At $4.6 billion, if they dump that into Bitcoin, that gives them like a little over 55,000 Bitcoin. If GameStop did this puts them at the #2 spot for corporate holders of Bitcoin. Like MicroStrategy is obviously almost there, just like about to touch 500,000 coins. But the next one down, Mara, GameStop would literally be 10,000 ahead of them. Then they'd be light years ahead of Riot. I think it's amazing that Tesla is still actually pretty high up there. All these other Bitcoin miners, I mean, they'd literally have over 5x the number of Bitcoin that Coinbase has, which is like a whole nother wild thing that it's crazy Coinbase has so little Bitcoin, but we'll save that for a different day. But like, that's kind of wild if you think about it. That's a massively meaningful amount of coins that they'd be able to accumulate like that, and with cash that is already sitting there. That's a pretty incredible strategic move to be able to make yourself the #2 corporate holder of Bitcoin in the world.
Yeah, and think about this. It would unite the two of the largest retail investor bases in the world, or probably the two biggest, because you have the MicroStrategy bros who I've seen on Twitter, they've shit on GameStop, and I understand if you're not in the space, and you still think the 2020 thesis is valid, yes, you think GameStop is a dying company. Now it's not dying, it's no longer on life support, but it's like, okay, they're only making like 30 million a quarter, they no longer have debt, but there's no more growth thesis, right? There's no more, it's like, what can they do with that much money, right? And people said they can buy a company. I'm like, well, if you can show me a company that has a better return than Bitcoin, then sure, but I don't see one. And so it just makes sense that that much capital should be funneled towards a hard asset that will keep pace or even outperform inflation. As we're seeing, inflation start to pick up in the last few months. It's the perfect hedge, the perfect combination.
This isn't just bullish, it's a game theory flashpoint. GameStop is front-running the entire market. They've turned their treasury into a perpetual call option on the future of money. The longer other companies wait, the more they pay. This is the Bitcoin trap. And Michael Saylor's out here saying if America buys 5.5 million BTC, well, we could be looking at a $106 trillion market cap for Bitcoin.
So how should the U.S. pursue a Bitcoin strategy? Well, Senator Lummis has given us a clear guideline with the Bitcoin Act in Nashville in July. And what the Bitcoin Act said, it said, let's acquire 1 million Bitcoin over a 5-year period in a programmatic, disciplined fashion, transparent to all. And so let's consider the consequences of this strategy. Well, first of all, last week, the president signed the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act or order. If we hold that 200,000 Bitcoin for the next 20 years, even though you see a flat line on the screen, the flat line is worth $3 trillion. So that's the value of doing nothing. Sometimes people think that you have to do something to make money. Sometimes the absence of doing awful and stupid things is making money. Doing stuff is highly overrated if the stuff is trading or selling your Bitcoin. The Lummis bill would acquire a million Bitcoin or 1.2 million Bitcoin. If you look at the consequences of that over the time frame, it's worth $16 trillion to the nation. If you get a bit more aggressive and we go for another million Bitcoin, it's worth $34 trillion to the nation. In this case, there's a bit of reflexivity. If the United States starts to more aggressively stockpile Bitcoin, it's going to accelerate the growth of the network. It's going to accelerate capital flowing in the network. It's going to increase and expand the overall digital capital network. If we move to a triple max strategy, you'll end up with 4 million Bitcoin. That's worth $73 trillion to America. And of course, President Trump has laid out a guideline. We should be the superpower. If you want a superpower strategy, here's a superpower strategy. Acquire Bitcoin consistently. By the way, over what time frame? Consistently daily between now and the 0.99. 0.99 is January of the year 2035, the point at which 99% of the Bitcoin supply has been mined. The asset becomes effectively capped for all practical purposes, because the last 1% comes out over 100 years. 0.99 between now and then you've got 10 years for the digital gold rush. You should get your Bitcoin before there's no more Bitcoin for you. And you can see here, in this strategy, we acquire it consistently, and then we use surpluses from the U.S. government to continue to save in Bitcoin. It's worth $106 trillion to the United States. And so what does that look like? Well, the Lummis plan, which is grand, is modest in some ways, and a modest strategic Bitcoin reserve plan neutralizes the national debt. Sometimes doing modest things are actually brilliant, as long as you do the thing. It's like the people that bought just a little bit of Bitcoin in 2012. It was a modest investment. It made them billionaires. A modest thing 20 years in advance is a brilliant thing. If you're more aggressive, the triple max plan negates the national debt. The superpower plan creates a global superpower.
Let's talk communities. What about this? Bitcoiners meets Wall Street bets. These are not investors. They are ideological warriors. They don't sell, they don't listen to CNBC, they laugh at price dips, and they meme their way through bear markets. This is a different breed. And now they're merging. The hardest hodlers on earth just found their crossover event. GameStop has unlocked 2 dimensions of conviction. Yes, it's all real. And he's writing in poems again. And yes, Bitcoin Twitter is melting down in euphoria. Oh, and wait, we still haven't even got to nation state FOMO and Robinhood. Wait until you see this. But before we bring it home today, look at our likes.
But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp while we take a moment to recognize our sponsors, the masters of Bitcoin sovereignty, the Bitcoin way. If you're looking to learn how to Bitcoin, how to properly secure your Bitcoin, you might want to head on over to the newly revamped Bitcoin Way website where you can begin your road to Bitcoin sovereignty today. If you're looking to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, go ahead and use that link below in the show notes. Are you absolutely sick of explaining why taxation and money printing are theft to people who just don't care? Well, all your lonely days are gone, my friends, with the Orange Pill app. You can stack friends who stack sats. It's the ultimate hub to connect with fellow Bitcoiners, find meetups, and discover every Bitcoin conference happening near you and across the country. Oh, and just in, the Orange Pill app Lightning Wallet is live. You can send and receive Bitcoin at the speed of lightning, baby. No setup, no limits, just pure sats and freedom. Zap to usernames, Lightning URLs, Lightning Network addresses. You can pay invoices. Bitcoin is better with friends. And now you can zap them instantly, all in one app. What are you waiting for? Download the Orange Pill app today and start meeting your laser-eyed brothers and sisters in the real world. Zap your friends, your favorite Bitcoiners, and Bitcoin companies, and who knows? The connections you make could last a lifetime. All right, strap in, because here's what's next. Russia. Advisors are now saying to hold Bitcoin. BlackRock launching their ETF in Europe. Then we have Robinhood rumored to be next. And Wall Street Bets, are they still clueless this is happening? This is not priced in. This is not a drill. We are witnessing the Bitcoinization of corporate America, starting with the unlikeliest of heroes. GameStop is no longer just a store. It's a symbol. Trojan horse. You wanted a signal? Here it is. If Bitcoin is digital gold, then GameStop just built the first arcade treasury on top of it. So what happens when GameStop uses their $4.7 billion to buy Bitcoin? What happens when other corporations realize they're about to get left behind? Everything you know about money, finance, and Wall Street just melts into orange. Let us know what you think of the news below. I don't know. I kind of like the sound of that. Welcome to B-Stop in the Fed. Game on. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing this video with the likes of Peter Schiff. And don't forget to set those notifications. We got a lot more coming your way, so stay tuned. And don't forget to visit the team today and tomorrow at Mining Disrupt. Hey, I love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.